Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Luscious Living Podcast. I am very passionate about this subject. I would have paid someone to help me understand this. And now I am wanting to give this information for you because I deeply know the study of having a horrible relationship with one's body. And maybe you're there, maybe you're not. Maybe you're just looking at how can I reduce the last few pounds that I have. Maybe you were also in a position like myself where I never had a good relationship with food or my body. It was a toxic relationship, if you will. The time that I had weighed myself where I knew I needed to make a change, I ended up reaching about 190 pounds. I probably was a little bit more than that, but I just refused to weigh myself. And to me, in my height, in my frame, that was very uncomfortable. I had never, ever been at that point for myself. And I hung out around that 135, as a young adult. And so to be in my 20s and at that point was very uncomfortable for me. And again, that can be a very beautiful, comfortable space for a lot of women. And this is coming from a space of, for my personal experience, it was not working. And I hated leaving the house. And I would have a meltdown if I did. And I did not buy any new clothes in my 20s at all because I didn't want to buy clothing that fit this newer body that I felt uncomfortable with. I knew I needed to make a change, but I just felt like I couldn't get out of the habits that I was in. And I would do these crazy diets. I mean, from fasting and then extreme binge eating at night. And then doing lots of butter in my coffee, the bulletproof coffees. I would do crazy detoxes. I did something called Banana Island where you just eat bananas. It's just crazy that I do what I do for work now because that's at that point that I was in. I was so confused. I was a vegan, raw vegan. I did many diets under the sun. Juice cleanses, smoothie cleanses, all of this. And it wasn't until I learned about proper nutrition and I stopped doing the extreme things that I have released over 45 pounds without doing anything crazy. And, for some people who have never struggled with their weight or they know exactly why they've gained weight, it's different for those of us who there's emotional parts of this, especially there's maybe family dynamics, there is safety reasons why we have held on to weight. There's just so much more to it. And so I'm going to go over common myths, common misconceptions that I wish I knew sooner. They are common mistakes that I often see working with my cherished clients as well. And so I want to go into that with you, okay? So are you ready? Now, let's go into the very first point I have today. And that is that it's okay to want to be slimmer. Being slimmer and wanting to be slimmer is not about being vain. It's not about being anti-body positive. It's not about anyone else except for how you feel in your own body. And you know what it feels like to put on some clothes that might not fit the way that you want to. And that was my biggest struggle. Actually, being in a healthier and lighter body has made me more body positive than ever. So that's going to be the very first thing, is you might have friends or family members you might feel like you might be different from. If you are slimmer, you might feel like, and this is actually so big for me, is I rebelled. I rebelled against the standards that society had put on women, saying, screw this, I don't have to be dainty and small and light. I can be whatever size I want. I can eat whatever food I want. It was a rebellion. And so you might experience that as well, is no, I'm conforming to society's standards and the patriarchy, whatever viewpoint that you might have. But I want you to really come back to yourself and say, is that thought really serving you? Is it a rebellion against society, or is it is it coming back home to yourself? Okay, so it is okay to want to be slimmer. And that level of slimness is going to depend on you. There is nobody dictating that you have to be a size 00 at all. For you, that might be a size 8. It might be a 12. It might be a 6. It might be a 4. It might be a 2. What is your internalized standard and goal? And what's also realistic, because at times it can get harder and harder to be a certain size that's smaller if you are already a healthy person. So let's recap that. It is okay to want to be slimmer, and it's okay to want to feel good in your body. Okay, number 2, trying to hit a protein goal and overeating on calories. This is so common. I was doing this up until last May. So I was adamant about the reaching a certain amount of protein, and I see this all the time where women are trying to reach 120 grams of protein per day. But then with that, you might be overeating 100, 200, 300 plus calories a day to reach your protein goal, when if you didn't reach a protein goal, perhaps, then you underate those 100 to 300 calories, you might actually, that would be the weight that you might need to lose. And so I was having multiple eggs or a certain amount of chicken or chickpeas or whatever it was. And just having a little bit less actually slimmed me down. And what I would recommend is to focus more on fiber. Okay, fiber is low in calorie. It is absolutely crucial for gut health. More and more people of younger ages, really all ages, are having gut health issues, and a lot of people are not having enough fiber. The recommended dose is to have about 25 grams of fiber. And yes, we do want to center protein around a meal. This is important for blood sugar. This is important for hormone production. And this is important for also keeping you full, but we want to focus on both. And the whole craze has been around protein. It's way sexier than fiber, talking about fiber. So to give you an idea, a palm size of chicken, this is again undressed. There's no sauces, no dressings, nothing on it. Can be around 140 to 180 calories or more. The protein content is going to be at 25 to 30 grams of protein, and that's really amazing. And there's zero fiber. There is zero fiber in chicken and beef and things like this. Now, if you look at a cup of chickpeas, that's about 270 calories, about 15 grams of protein, and 12 grams of fiber. So legumes, so beans and vegetables and fruit are going to be the highest source of fiber. Now, this is where I love fruit and vegetables. So again, if you're hungry, you might need a snack, which again, that could be a whole other myth of its own. But you have your meal and you have a pear after it, which I personally love, is 100 calories, about 1 gram of protein, 6 grams of fiber. So imagine that. So now we're looking at, if you have just had chicken, you're having no fiber. Then we're getting higher up with the fiber, and then of course the calories go up. Pear has a lot more fiber, and of course so do the chickpeas. Another thing is protein bar. I was so big about protein bars when I was significantly weighing more. So protein bars are going to have about 300 calories. It's going to have about 10 to 20 grams protein depending on the brand. Same with the calories there, depends on the brand. And then it might have about 5 grams of fiber depending on the brand again. Now, I don't know about you, but with protein bars, I do find a lot of them taste good, contrary to popular belief. But I remember in the 90s, and I was just very young, but the protein bars were very different than they are now. They're like basically chocolate bars with some protein. Not that I'm complaining about that, but they don't necessarily keep you full long as well. And so in these moments, as you can see, you want to focus on fiber and protein. And if you're really hungry, I would go for something like a carrot or pear or raspberries in place of, let's say, those turkey sticks. I would have a lot of those ones at Costco. They're so good. If you can have more than or less than one, please, you make the podcast episode and I will listen to it. But I find with those, I need to have at least 2, 3, sometimes 4. And next thing you know, those calories add up and it's not a snack, but it's a full-on meal. And then you have another meal on top of it. So I personally don't buy them anymore, and I will just stick to big bags of fruit and vegetables. Okay, next one, number 3, this is so important, is focusing only on gym time. So that's maybe just Pilates or just weight training. And I have to say, weight training made me ravenous because I would work my butt off. And I'm sure you're working your butt off for any sort of class that you're doing as well. And maybe it's Orange Theory, it's a spin class, but again, those are high intensity. They are going to burn a lot of calories, but they're also going to make you hungrier. And weight training is crucial for bone health, but also body composition, okay? So that look that you probably want is going to be achieved through lifting weights that are getting heavier every single week, which is called progressive overload. So finding a workout plan and sticking to that rather than those one-off workouts. And if you have ever had any troubles with weight loss, we must include cardio into your routine. But I don't mean running. I don't mean cycling. I mean walking. Walking is a measure of longevity, of the longest living, healthiest people on the planet. The rest of the world outside of North America are also excellent walkers. We drive a lot in North America, and a lot of people in sessions have told me like, okay, well, what does walking do? And I haven't lost weight with walking. Well, I would recommend a 20 to 30 minute brisk walk every day. And either if you live in a cold climate like I do, get a walking pad, get a treadmill. But if you add in that 30 minutes, especially walking per day, and if you did nothing else but that, you would notice a difference in how your stomach looks. Truly, it is going to flatten out that tummy. It is going to help with cortisol because walking does indeed improve stress. Okay. And you will notice a difference. That is key. So not just focusing on the weight training, which does make you hungrier. You do also need to, in some certain circumstances, overeat, it's called bulking to gain muscle. And again, if you're on a weight loss journey, do focus on your weight training, but I highly recommend walking, okay? In order to get a different result, we have to act differently as well. And if you took one thing out of this whole podcast episode, it would be to walk more. Number 4, this is a big one, is fearing hunger. Let me ask you a question. When you start to get hungry, what emotion arises? I want you to think about that. Tune into that. Because for me, it was a lot of anxiety. It's like, oh, I'm hungry, oh my gosh. And I immediately had to feel full again. And this is also an emotional component. You want to feel fulfilled, filled. That's a whole other podcast episode. Now, it is okay to feel hungry on the journey of weight loss because you are going to be having about 100 to 300 calories less per day to lose about 0.5 pounds a week, which is very healthy, and that's what we want. Okay, so if you want to go faster, you would decrease your calories more, and I recommend by doing that through nutrition and walking. But usually the faster you lose weight, the faster people can gain it back. The hardest part will be maintenance. So you want to be able to do these things long term. Now, if you want to subside that hunger, I want you to see, is it something that you truly can move past by being with the feeling of hunger? Can you drink water? Can you drink tea? Green tea is my ultimate hack here. Can you get busy? Can you also have a low calorie, high fiber snack such as a carrot or a pear, raspberries, whatever it is? And if you are truly hungry, please eat, right? But the big thing is, I know you know the difference of, it's maybe you're at that 4 p.m., maybe you're having dinner in an hour. Can you drink some tea, get busy, and then when it's time for dinner, then you can sit down? However, there is a scale. If you're on a scale of 5 to 6, maybe that's something that can wait. However, if you're feeling hungry and it's at a 7, 8, 9, well then at that point, of course, we want you to be eating. This is not about starving. And please really know the nuance here as well, right? Is when that feeling of hunger comes up, what are the emotions that come up? Because you might feel there's this primal feeling of, I have to do something very fast, right? If you are hungry and it's also been 4 hours, that is very real hunger. Versus, okay, I ate and then an hour later I'm hungry. Could I have had more fiber in my last meal? Could I have had more protein? Am I thirsty? Can I also just distract myself a little bit until the next meal? So those are some really key aspects that I wish someone told me sooner, because I never let myself be hungry, ever. And you will feel a little hungry when you are losing weight. You are consuming less calories. Okay, so that is very normal. The next thing is overeating on weekends. I would save all of my indulgence and my excitement for a weekend meal. And I coach a lot of this with my one-on-ones, is can you make your favorite food that you look forward to, whether it's wings, it's ice cream, it's a cheeseburger, can you make that on the weekend and a healthier version? So for example, for burgers, we eat burgers all the time at home using grass-fed beef. I sometimes will not have a patty, sometimes I will, but then you can control the sauces on it. You can control where your food is coming from. If you do decide to eat out, that's okay. So let's say you're going to a fast food restaurant. Can you then actually omit the cheese, omit the mayo? Can you have it lettuce wrapped? Can you eat half of your fries, right? Can you, if you're craving chicken wings, can you make a buffalo cauliflower version? Can you, if you make nachos, this is something I love making at home, is I put the potatoes in the air fryer and basically make a taco bowl. And if you want to add in some feta cheese or melted cheese, you can. Or poutine, something I've recently started to do is just instead of fries at home, I will make a poutine with broccoli or cauliflower, right? And again, some of these, I feel like if I heard this a few years ago, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not sacrificing that. And there is a certain readiness that comes with this journey. And it's not to say don't have those things, because believe me, I will always have those foods. I'm just such a foodie at heart. And when I have those cravings, I want that comfort, I will go for some of these foods that I know that I'm not going to regret how I feel, because again, the feeling of eating those foods is about 5, 10, 15 minutes long, right? And sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not. Okay, so can you find a way to look forward to a meal during the week as well? And then maybe you do have your meal that's like, I don't care, whatever it is. And I like to do that close to on my luteal phase or my menstrual phase. Lastly, I wish someone told me sooner that loading up on healthy but calorie-dense food was not going to help me with my weight loss goals. I'm talking almond butter, trail mix, hummus, avocado, olive oil, kombucha, even some good quality cheese, some good quality chocolate. I was eating trail mix without measuring at all. And I don't know about you, but I'm not just going to have 1 or 2 pieces of almonds or cashews. I probably will have about half a cup by the time I realize it's all over. That can be about 300 to 400 calories right there. Same with avocado. I would always have a full or even half of an avocado at a time. That's a whole meal of worth of calories right there, right? So it's not to say don't have these foods. Absolutely not. This is about, okay, can I enjoy this food at a measured rate? Am I aware of how many calories I'm putting in when I'm cooking with olive oil, when I'm making my salad dressing, when I am drinking kombucha? So for someone who maybe is looking to release about 15 to 20 pounds, you might consider omitting, let's say, kombucha for sparkling water. You might go from half an avocado on your toast to a 4th cup. You might not have any dried raisins or cranberries, for example, to start with your trail mix, or you might measure out 1/4 of a cup. Same with almond butter, etc. So I hope these were helpful. Again, I wish that this was available, this kind of podcast episode. I had found something like this on my journey. Maybe it was something I needed to learn so I could share it. But we talked about it is okay to want to be slimmer, looking to really go for fiber goals and not necessarily overeating due to hitting a protein goal. We have talked about adding in walking. Truly, again, this is the one thing, if you didn't do anything else and you just walked for half an hour a day, that would be monumental. We talked about not fearing hunger, but welcoming it and really getting to know yourself more, hydrating, getting busy, and adding more fiber and protein to your previous meal to not get hungry in between. The fact of overeating on weekends and really looking forward to a beautiful, tasty meal during the weekday as well, and loading up on healthy foods that are also, you're mindful of the calorie density there. They're nutrient dense, but also calorie dense in this case. So maybe there's some swaps that you can make there that really resonate for you. I hope this was helpful. What I want you to do is message me on Instagram at _lusciousliving_ to let me know if this was helpful. And if you're looking forward to a part 2, which I would be happy to send to you, I have more tips for you. And thanks for listening. I will see you next time.